You've shared another long story passage, and it looks like you want it typed out cleanly and continued in the same style. Here is a clean, corrected continuation from where your text stops. Approaching the intersection at a steady speed, the light above his lane was clearly green. A second later, a white BMW SUV entered the frame from the cross street. The signal facing the BMW was solid red for several seconds before the vehicle accelerated straight through the intersection. There was no hesitation. No attempt to brake, just speed. The impact happened in an instant. Harold's car spun sideways and slammed into the metal streetlight pole. Debris scattered across the pavement while the BMW paused for less than a heartbeat, then continued forward and disappeared from the camera's view. I set the tablet down slowly. The courtroom was completely silent. I looked at Vanessa Caldwell, and for the first time that morning, she wasn't leaning back in confidence. Her posture had stiffened. Her eyes were fixed on the table in front of her. Miss Caldwell, I said quietly, that traffic signal was red for nearly 4 seconds before you entered the intersection. Her attorney shifted in his seat, but he didn't speak. I continued, keeping my voice calm but firm. You didn't slow down, you didn't stop after the collision, and you didn't contact the police. Vanessa crossed her arms. I told you, she said, her tone sharp, I didn't know I hit anyone. I held her gaze for a long moment. Miss Caldwell, I said, a man's car door was crushed inward, his vehicle was pushed into a street light pole, and you're asking this court to believe you felt nothing. The silence returned, heavier this time from the back row. I could hear the faint sound of Harold Brennan's breathing, slow and uneven, like someone trying very hard to remain composed. I looked down at the file again, then back up at Vanessa. This courtroom, I said, is where responsibility begins, not where it's avoided. Her confidence flickered, just for a second, and in that moment, I knew exactly what kind of decision this case would require. Got it? Thumbs up. You want this rewritten in the same length and style, with clear wording and no mistakes. Here is your clean rewritten version of the passage you sent, the intersection under a green light. Then I saw the white BMW race through a clearly red signal at what looked close to 50 miles per hour in a 35 zone. The collision was violent. The BMW struck the Honda with such force that the smaller car spun nearly all the way around before crashing into the pole, and then, without even slowing, the BMW continued down the street. No stop. No hesitation. It simply disappeared. I looked at Vanessa and said, Miss Caldwell, I've just watched the footage. The light was red, not yellow, and the impact was severe. How do you explain leaving the scene? She shifted in her chair and replied, like I said, I didn't realize I hit anyone. I thought maybe I drove over a pothole or something. I asked whether she checked her car for damage when she arrived home. She said no. I asked if she heard sirens or noticed emergency vehicles again. No. I asked whether it ever occurred to her to stop and see if someone had been hurt. She looked at me as if I had asked her to solve a calculus equation. I told you, she said. I didn't think it was a big deal. That was when Harold spoke from the witness area. Your Honor, may I say something? I nodded. He said quietly, I don't want trouble. I just need my car fixed so I can get back to work. My daughter is 12, she has asthma. Without my car, I can't take her to doctor appointments. I can't get to my job. I've been riding the bus for 2 weeks now, and it takes 3 hours each way. His voice trembled as he gripped the edge of the bench. I'm not asking for anything extra. I just want things made right. I turned to Vanessa and asked if she had insurance. She said yes. I asked whether she had filed a claim or contacted Harold to cover the damage. She said no. I asked why. Because I didn't think I was responsible, she answered. I still don't. Her attorney placed a hand on her arm, trying to quiet her, but she pulled away. Then she said the words I had been expecting. Judge, do you know who my father is? There it was, the moment when someone believes a last name will protect them. I leaned forward and replied calmly, Miss Caldwell, I don't care who your father is. In this courtroom, everyone is equal. You're here to answer for your actions, not to talk about your connections. She stared at me and said something I will never forget. I don't take orders from anyone. Not even you. The courtroom fell silent. Even her attorney looked like he wished he could disappeared. I felt the weight of the gavel in my hand and took a slow breath. Miss Caldwell, I said evenly, you are in a court of law. You will follow the rules of this court, and you will show respect to everyone here, especially Mr. Brennan, who did nothing wrong except be in the wrong place at the wrong time because of your reckless driving. She crossed her arms. This is ridiculous, she said. I'm not going to sit here and be lectured by someone who doesn't understand real responsibilities. My pulse quickened, but my voice remained steady. Real responsibilities? I replied, Mr. Brennan works double shifts to pay for his daughter's medication. He served his country. He is here asking only for fairness. And you believe you're the one with real responsibilities? At that moment, Officer Torres stepped forward. Your Honor, there's something else. He looked uneasy as he removed his phone. After identifying Miss Caldwell, I checked her public social media account. On October 29th, the day of the crash, she posted a video. He showed it to me. In the video, Vanessa sat in her BMW, laughing at the camera. The timestamp read 6:32 p.m., just 17 minutes after the collision. She said, oh my god, you guys, I just had the craziest drive. I was running so late and literally flew through every light. I think I hit a pothole or something because my car made this huge bang, but whatever. I made it to my meeting on time. She was smiling, laughing, and in the corner of the frame, a dent was visible on the front of her BMW. She absolutely knew, something shifted inside my chest. This was no longer just a hit and run. This was someone who understood exactly what she had done, joked about it online, and then lied to the police and to this court. I looked at her and said, you posted a video 17 minutes after striking Mr. Brennan's car and made a joke about it. You knew you hit something, and you chose not to stop. Her face turned pale. For the first time, she had no answer. Her attorney began to stand. Your Honor, my client didn't mean. I raised my hand. Sit down, counselor. I'm not finished. I paused, thinking about Harold in the back row holding his worn cap, wondering whether justice would ever reach someone like him. I thought about his daughter waiting for medication, and a father trying to hold everything together, and I realized this case was never only about a damaged CAR. It was about whether the law still means the same thing for everyone. Great, thumbs up. You want this rewritten in the same length, same tone, clean wording, and without mistakes. Here is your carefully rewritten version of the final passage, presence. And I thought about every other person who had been hurt by someone like Vanessa and never received their day in court. Right then, I made a decision. I asked my clerk to contact the state attorney general's office and request that someone come to my courtroom immediately. I also asked Officer Torres to remain and provide his complete report. Vanessa's attorney looked alarmed. Your Honor, this is highly unusual for a traffic matter. I looked at him calmly and replied, Counselor, this stopped being a traffic case the moment your client lied under oath and posted evidence of her crime on social media. While we waited for the state attorney to arrive, I asked Vanessa if she had anything else to say. Tears began forming in her eyes, and her entire demeanor shifted. Judge. I'm sorry, she said softly, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just panicked. I asked why she panicked. Because my father would have been furious if I got another ticket, she answered. He already told me if I got one more, he'd take my car away. I looked at her steadily. So instead of taking responsibility, you left an elderly veteran on the side of the road and joked about it online. Now she was truly crying, her hands trembling. Her attorney tried to comfort her, but she pushed him away. I didn't think it was that bad, she whispered. I didn't think anyone was really hurt. Miss Caldwell, I said, you didn't think about anyone except yourself. You didn't stop to check. You didn't call 911. You didn't even slow down. And when the police came to your door, you lied. That isn't panic, that is selfishness. About 20 minutes later, the state attorney arrived. Her name was Rebecca Ortiz, and I had worked with her before on cases requiring special attention. I explained the situation, showed her the video, and reviewed Officer Torres's report. She listened carefully, took notes, then looked at Vanessa with the expression of someone who had seen this story many times before. Your Honor, Attorney Ortiz said, based on this information, I recommend additional charges of reckless driving, filing a false police report, and obstruction of justice. I nodded. I agree. Then I turned to Vanessa. Miss Caldwell, here is what will happen. You will be charged with hit and run, reckless driving, filing a false police report, and obstruction of justice. You will pay full restitution to Mr. Brennan for his vehicle, medical expenses, and lost wages. You will complete 200 hours of community service at a veteran center, where you will learn what real responsibility looks like. And your driver's license will be suspended for 1 year. If you violate any of these terms, you will face jail time. Her mouth fell open. You can't do this to me. My father will. I cut her off. Your father will do nothing, and if he attempts to interfere, I will personally refer him to the ethics board for obstruction. Do you understand me? She hesitated, so I repeated it more firmly. Do you understand me, Miss Caldwell? Tears streamed down her face as she finally whispered, yes, Your Honor. I turned to Harold and asked if he wished to speak. He stood slowly, looked at Vanessa, and said, I hope you learn from this, young lady. I hope you understand that every person you meet on the road is someone's father, someone's mother, someone's child. We all matter, not just people like you. His words lingered in the silence. Vanessa lowered her head, unable to meet his eyes. Before closing the case, I did something unusual. I asked Vanessa to stand and face Harold. Miss Caldwell, I said, I want you to apologize to Mr. Brennan, not because I order you to, but because it is the right thing to do, and I want you to mean it. She stood there for a long moment, struggling against her pride. Finally, she turned toward him. Mr. Brennan. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry for what I did. I was wrong, and I should have stopped. Harold nodded once. Thank you. Just 2 simple words. That man carried more grace in that moment than she had shown all day. I closed the case and watched as Vanessa and her attorney left the courtroom. She looked smaller somehow, like the weight of her actions had finally reached her. Officer Torres remained behind and shook Harold's hand. For the first time that day, I saw Harold smile. He approached the bench and said quietly, Judge, thank you for listening. I didn't think anyone would care. Harold, I told him, I will always care. That's why I'm here. After he left, I sat in my chambers for a long time thinking about that case. I thought about how easily money and connections can make people believe they are above the law. I thought about how many people like Harold get pushed aside, not only by cars, but by systems that fail to see them. And I thought about my duty as a judge to ensure that everyone who enters my courtroom receives fairness, regardless of who they are or who they know. I've served in this role for many years, and I've learned that justice is not only about punishment. It is about accountability. It is about making sure people understand the consequences of their choices and the harm they cause others. Vanessa Caldwell entered my courtroom believing her name and her father's wealth would protect her. She left understanding that, in my courtroom, everyone stands equal, and Harold Brennan left knowing that his voice mattered, his dignity mattered, and the law stood on his side. That is the lesson I want to leave with you. Today, no matter how much power someone holds, no matter how much money they possess, no matter who their parents are, no one is above the law, and when someone like Harold, a man who worked hard, served his country, and is simply trying to care for his daughter, comes seeking justice, I will make sure he receives it, every single time. Thank you for staying with this story until the end. If you believe in fairness and accountability, subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it, and next time, I'll tell you about the case of a landlord who tried to evict a single mother the week before Christmas, and what happened next may surprise you. Until then, remember, justice is not just a word, it is a promise.